as the self in all beings. We start today's satsang with a prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh. This will be followed by the chanting of Muktaka trayam by Sri Nandakumarji.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् रमणाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय नमो रमणा टू एवरीवन.
एकम् अक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहं नित्याक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलनरूढा आत्मनिष्ठो देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्ततभाषुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्धा सोऽहं पावयित कुतो वरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम् शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं नमो रमण
Namo Ramana. We will now have the chanting of Upadesa Saram by Uma and Ashwini Balaji.
नमो रमण कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलं कर्म किं परं कर्म तज्जडं कृतिमहो दधौ पतनकारणं फलमशाश्वतं गतिनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितं नेच्छया कृतं चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकं कायवाङ्मना कार्यमुत्तमं पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् जगतैषधी युक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिबृहत् देवपूजनम् उत्तमस्तवादुच्चमन्दत चित्तजं जप ध्यानमुत्तमम् आज्यधारया स्रोतसा समं सरलचिन्तनं विरलतः परं वेदभावनात् सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिदा पावनीमता भावशून्यसत् भावसुस्थिति भावना बलात् भक्तिरुत्तमा हृत्स्थले मना स्वस्थता क्रिया भक्तियोगबोधश्च निश्चितम् नमो रमण
Namo Ramana. We will now have 3 songs from Ramananjali Sangeetam. The first one will be presented by Revathi Shankar, the second one by Savitri Krishnan and Sri Jayasriram Krishnan. The third song will be presented by Srimati V. Radha along with Vallabh. Master Ramana, he is the master of right placement. Whatever he does at the right time, right place. Everything is right. He has placed, Muruganar Swami in the song says, he has placed love in mother, knowledge in father. He has placed pearl in the shell. He has placed love in the heart, and friendship he has given to our lives. And to the life he has given meaning to the life. And this is Venkata Chinmaya. He is Ramana. He is Venkata Ananda. He has given us happiness in our lives. And he gives that happiness at the right time so that we can get back to the source all the time. And he gives us the knowledge, the self-knowledge at the right time. Because the jiva which is yearning for self-knowledge may or may not be able to take it. It may not be the right time for the jiva to take that self-knowledge. But Bhagavan Ramana knows at what time which jiva has to get that experience, and what time that happiness has to reach that jiva is very clearly defined by Bhagavan Ramana, because he is the all knower, he is the master of right placement. This is the song written by Muruganar Swami. The translation is by R.N. Jayagopal. Kannada translation is by R.N. Jayagopal. Music is by V.S. Narasimhan. ತಾಯಿಯಲಿ ಮಮತೆಯ ನಿಟ್ಟ, ತಂದೆಯಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನವ ಕೊಟ್ಟ, ವೇದಗಳು ನಿಜ ನುಡಿ ಒಲುಗೈದ ವೆಂಕಟ ಸತ್ಯ ಸ್ವರೂಪ. ತಾಯಿಯಲಿ ಮಮತೆಯ ನಿಟ್ಟ, ತಂದೆಯಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನವ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ವೇದಗಳು ನಿಜ ನುಡಿ ಒಲುಗೈದ ವೆಂಕಟ ಸತ್ಯ ಸ್ವರೂಪ ವೆಂಕಟ ಸತ್ಯ ಸ್ವರೂಪ ವೆಂಕಟ ಸತ್ಯ ಸ್ವರೂಪ. ಹೃದಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ನೇಹವ ಇಟ್ಟ ಸ್ನೇಹದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಳನು ಇಟ್ಟ ಹೃದಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ನೇಹವ ಇಟ್ಟ ಸ್ನೇಹದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಳನು ಇಟ್ಟ ಬಾಳಿಗೊಂದು ಅರ್ಥವ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ವೆಂಕಟ ಚಿನ್ಮಯ ರೂಪ ಬಾಳಿಗೊಂದು ಅರ್ಥವ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ವೆಂಕಟ ಚಿನ್ಮಯ ರೂಪ ವೆಂಕಟ ಚಿನ್ಮಯ ರೂಪ ವೆಂಕಟ ಚಿನ್ಮಯ ರೂಪ. ತಾಯಿಯಲಿ ಮಮತೆಯನಿಟ್ಟ ತಂದೆಯಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನವ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ವೇದಗಳು ನಿಜ ನುಡಿ ಒಲುಗೈದ ವೆಂಕಟ ಸತ್ಯ ಸ್ವರೂಪ. ನಾಲಿಗೆಗೆ ಸತ್ಯವ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ನ್ಯಾಯಕ್ಕೆ ಮೆರುಗನು ಕೊಟ್ಟ ನಾಲಿಗೆಗೆ ಸತ್ಯವ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ನ್ಯಾಯಕ್ಕೆ ಮೆರುಗನು ಕೊಟ್ಟ ನಂಬಿದವರಿಗೆ ಅಭಯ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ನಂಬಿದವರಿಗೆ ಅಭಯ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ವೆಂಕಟ ಆನಂದ ರೂಪ ನಂಬಿದವರಿಗೆ ಅಭಯ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ವೆಂಕಟ ಆನಂದ ರೂಪ. ತಾಯಿಯಲಿ ಮಮತೆಯನಿಟ್ಟ ತಂದೆಯಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನವ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ವೇದಗಳು ನಿಜ ನುಡಿ ಒಲುಗೈದ ವೆಂಕಟ ಸತ್ಯ ಸ್ವರೂಪ. ಹಳತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಸತನು ಇಟ್ಟ ಸಿಂಪಿಯಲಿ ಮುತ್ತನು ಇಟ್ಟ ಹಳತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಸತನು ಇಟ್ಟ ಸಿಂಪಿಯಲಿ ಮುತ್ತನು ಇಟ್ಟ ಭಕ್ತಿಯಲಿ ನೆಮ್ಮದಿ ಇಟ್ಟ ವೆಂಕಟ ಮುಕ್ತಿ ಸ್ವರೂಪ ಭಕ್ತಿಯಲಿ ನೆಮ್ಮದಿ ಇಟ್ಟ ವೆಂಕಟ ಮುಕ್ತಿ ಸ್ವರೂಪ ವೆಂಕಟ ಮುಕ್ತಿ ಸ್ವರೂಪ ವೆಂಕಟ ಮುಕ್ತಿ ಸ್ವರೂಪ. ತಾಯಿಯಲಿ ಮಮತೆಯನಿಟ್ಟ ತಂದೆಯಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನವ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ವೇದಗಳು ನಿಜ ನುಡಿ ಒಲುಗೈದ ವೆಂಕಟ ಸತ್ಯ ಸ್ವರೂಪ ವೆಂಕಟ ಚಿನ್ಮಯ ರೂಪ ವೆಂಕಟ ಆನಂದ ರೂಪ ವೆಂಕಟ ಮುಕ್ತಿ ಸ್ವರೂಪ.
ಪರಮ ಮಂಗಳ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಬೋಧಿಸಿದ ಅಮಡ ಚರಿತನೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೇನೆ ಪರಮ ಮಂಗಳ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಬೋಧಿಸಿದ ಅಮಡ ಚರಿತನೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೇನೆ ನೀ ಸ್ಮರಣ ಪಾವನ ತೇಜ ಅರುಣಾಚಲದ ರಮಣೇಶ ರಮಣೇಶ ಚರಣ ಕಮಲದ್ವಯಗಳನ್ನು ನಾನವರತ ಸ್ಮರಿಸುವೆನು ಈ ಕೈ ಪಿಡಿದು ಬಿಡದರೆ ಕರುಣ ರಕ್ಷಿಸು ನಮ್ಮ ನನವರತ ರಕ್ಷಿಸು ರಕ್ಷಿಸೋ ರಕ್ಷಿಸೋ ಅನವರತ ರಕ್ಷಿಸೋ ರಮಣ ಸದ್ಗುರೋ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ರಮಣಂ ಭಜಾಮ್ಯಹಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ರಮಣಂ ಭಜಾಮ್ಯಹಂ ಸುಗುಣ ದಯಾಕರ ಸುಜನ ಮಂದಾರಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ರಮಣಂ ಭಜಾಮ್ಯಹಂ ಸುಗುಣ ದಯಾಕರ ಸುಜನ ಮಂದಾರಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ರಮಣಂ ಭಜಾಮ್ಯಹಂ ತ್ರಿಗುಣಾತೀತ ನಿರಂಜನ ರೂಪಂ ತ್ರಿಗುಣಾತೀತ निजात्मम् श्रीगुरुरमणं भजाम्यहम् सुगुणदयाकर सुजनमन्दारं श्रीगुरुरमणं भजाम्यहम् कोऽहं ध्यान विचारसुभेद्यं सहज समाधि अलङ्कृतभावं कोऽहं ध्यान विचारसुभेद्यं सहज समाधि अलङ्कृतभावम् इह परसौख्य मनोबलभासम् इह परसौख्य मनोबलभासम् महिमं दासनारायण हृदयम् इह परसौख्य मनोबलभासम् महिमं दासनारायण हृदयम् श्रीगुरुरमणं भजाम्यहम् सुगुणदयाकर सुजनमन्दारं श्रीगुरुरमणं भजाम्यहम् ओम नमो भगवते श्री
Namo Ramana to all. This is a simple Namavali written by Sri Sadhu Om Swami, and the music is by Srimati Sulochana Natarajan. Ramanaya, 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 Kannu Musina Nirupamune Kanchada Swami Ramanaya, Kannu Musina Nirupamune Kanchada Swami Ramanaya, 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 Jnana Bhaskara Somashekara Velugunichu Venkateramana, Jnana Bhaskara Somashekara Velugunichu Venkateramana, Ramanaya, 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 Ramanaya. Nannu Brovagara Vegamirara Ramanaya, Nannu Brovagara Vegamirara Ramanaya, 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 Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the reading and sharing of from the book Forever is in the Now by Sri Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment of the Satsang, we have been reading from the book Forever is in the Now, the timeless message of Shri Ramana Maharshi, edited and compiled by our founder president, Shri A.R. Natarajanji. We are coming to the end of the second part. The first part of this collection of articles was on the teachings. The second part was remembering Ramana Maharshi. We are in the small and last article on the remembering Ramana Maharshi. This is by Carl Friedrich von Weizsäcker, the German. The title is Tears of Bliss, Bliss Without Tears. Tears of Bliss, Bliss Without Tears. This author is given a brief introduction as a distinguished German physicist and philosopher. Tears of Bliss, Bliss Without Tears, Carl Friedrich von Weizsäcker. This is how he relates his indescribable mystical experience at the grave of the Hindu saint Sri Ramana Maharshi in Tiruvannamalai. From here the author's quotation is there. Once I had taken off my shoes and stepped in front of the Maharishi's grave in the ashram, I knew in a flash, yes, this is it. The truth is, all my questions were already answered. Grouped in an affable circle, we were given a tasty lunch served on large green leaves. Afterwards, I sat near the grave on the stone floor. The knowledge was there, and everything had happened in half an hour. I was still aware of the world around me, the hard seat, the humming mosquitoes, the light on the stone. But in those rapid movements, the onion skin-like layers that words can only hint at, you, me, they, that onion skin layers had been broken through. Tears of bliss, bliss without tears. Very gently, the experience brought me back to earth. I now knew the love that is the meaning of earthly love. That is the last article on remembering the Maharshi. The third and final part collected by the author is The Confluence. The Confluence by Sri A.R. Natarajanji is the first article. Paul Brunton comes with a bag full of questions, ready to fire them at Ramana. He has lost all his patience, having searched at the wrong doors in sacred India. He has no warning about the type of reception that awaits him. In the evening hour, his entry into the hall, where Ramana remains most of the time, is unnoticed. His offering is uncared for. There is an immense silence in which everyone is absorbed. A steady river of peace is flowing by. Ramana is indrawn with a faraway look. He is the source of this enveloping peace. Brunton's mental resistance breaks down. It no longer matters whether the questions with which he is bursting are answered or not. He is loath to disturb the rest, which his thought-tortured mind has never hitherto before experienced. He has to tear himself away from the blissful atmosphere which surrounds Ramana. The aura of peace was always there, and innumerable seekers of truth have experienced it. It was the Holy Shivaratri night, when one is expected to keep a night-long vigil dedicated to God. A group of devotees decided to spend their time in Ramana's company. They asked him for the meaning of an ancient hymn on silence, the Dakshinamurti Stotram. Ramana remained indrawn. Minutes passed into hours. The questioners and the questioned were not there. Only that elusive peace of mind was there. Who would barter it for mere mental prattle? Those who have tasted the ambrosial peace of Ramana can always enjoy it again by merely invoking his presence. The feeling of his radiant peace remained with Paul Brunton. The impact was such that it was time transcending. Swami Tapovan was visited Ramana at Skandashramam and was intoxicated by his silent peace. He would recall it vividly nearly 40 years later. Swami Chinmayananda came into the hall atheistic and skeptical, only to be mesmerized. A mere look of Ramana had passed on to him the invaluable treasure, peace. Swami Ramdas's heart-rending search found its fulfillment in the bliss of Ramana. Swami Abhishektananda was unable to feel the halo initially, but by the evening, Ramana's enchantment took over. Unremittingly, the Maharishi and his joy were with him. Soris, a teenager, and her father came to Sri Ramanashramam on the persuasion of a friend. Then she was consumed by the rapturous peace and happiness of Ramana. The first meeting was enough to lose her heart to him. Carl Friedrich von Weizsäcker was flooded with the indescribable mystical experience of an inner repose untouched by contact with the world. He found this while meditating in front of Ramana's shrine at Sri Ramanashram. One can go on citing instances for the testimonies of those who have experienced Ramana's peace are innumerable. This is the consequence of his steady abidance in the natural state. He radiates peace, for he is the universal consciousness. He transmits it to those whom he draws into his orbit. That Ramana is the repository of peace and bliss is readily conceded. But what about power? Here comes the confluence of peace and power, which the author is now going to unravel before us. That Ramana is the repository of peace and bliss is readily conceded. But what about power? Is he at the same time the source of all power as well? This doubt may arise because of Ramana's constant discouragement of siddhi or power seeking. He would never fail to emphasize that the true siddhi is to become self-aware, to know the true import of I. All other attainments would only be mental and would come and go. It would be mere search for the transient, as indeed everything else is in one's life. If someone praised the capacity to read past lives, Ramana would ask whether such delving into the past would bring one closer to self-knowledge or to a happier life. Suppose you could be in England, now astrally. Would it make you happier? Would be the query. If one applies the acid test of happiness, any power which spiritual pursuits might yield would be readily seen to be futile. Sometimes Ramana would say that the magician deludes only the others. He himself is not taken in by his magic. But the one who exercises mental powers digs his own grave. Ramana puts it rather strongly in one of his verses. He labels power mongers in the spiritual field as madmen. As Ramana puts it, without realizing the power which animates them, to expect to attain all supernatural powers remains one of the story of a lame man who said, if I am supported on my feet, what can the enemy do? All this would give the impression that he did not care for these powers and therefore did not possess them. To conclude thus would be quite wrong. Why? Because all siddhis flock together and come to those who are aflame with God love. Since the self is the source of all power and fullness, Ramana was verily that. In him there was a confluence of peace and power. Perhaps a few instances could be cited to bring home the point. Once Ramana himself told a devotee, whatever people may say, I know exactly the purpose for which they have come. Ethel Marston was mulling over some problem for several days without finding a solution. When Ramana's eyes fell on her, he asked an attendant to give her a book with stories from the Puranas, pointing out a particular one in it. The story gave the answer to the problem. Mrs. Pigot, sitting in the hall, felt bored with a book of aphorisms in her hand. Suddenly, one of the devotees was standing before her with a book in hand, saying, the Maharishi asks me to give you this. He thinks it would be more sympathetic to your type of mind. She wondered how the Maharishi could know what she was reading for his line of vision had been blocked by other devotees. Often, Ramana would answer the question even as it was being formulated in the devotee's mind. Quite obviously, he was clairvoyant. He could read the thoughts and know the problems of the persons who came to him. Sometimes the power of Ramana's silent mind was so powerful, it could be actually felt by everyone in the hall and not only the recipient to whom it was directed. As the years roll by, we have accounts of the miracles which Ramana is performing in the lives of many. What about the ultimate miracle of snatching one from death's jaws? Kapali Shastri has recorded a happening in May 1922. When the news reached the Maharishi that Supervisor Ramasamy Iyer was dying, Ramana went to the spot on the hill where he was lying. Iyer had a violent palpitation of his heart and death seemed around the corner. The Maharishi sat near him, placing his hand on his head. The dying man got up within 5 minutes and became normal. Perhaps one could recall the case of Jagadeesh Sastri, who got a second lease of life by Ramana's response to his specific prayer. There can be little doubt about Ramana's omniscience and omnipotence. Experience shows that he walks before us to guard us from all harm. I'll read that again. The author is specifically saying that all the devotees feel like this, that the experience shows that Bhagavan walks before us to guard us from all harm. Mind-dazzling are his powers. Mind-dazzling as his powers are, the question still remains as to what can be regarded as the true sign of the manifestation of his power. This can be understood only in the context of the purpose for which a jnani walks on the earth. Once a lady from Guntur brought her son brought her dead son to Sri Ramanashram. She was confident that Ramana had the power to bring him back to life. Ramana did not perform the miracle she asked for, but yet his words of love acted as a balm to her mother's heart, and she returned consoled. Then someone present there asked Ramana as to whether jnanis have the power to revive the dead. Ramana replied, they have the power, but it is not the purpose for which they have come. The jnani's purpose is to be the guru within, guiding seekers in turning inwards, in experiencing the natural state and abiding in it. It is here that Ramana's power is seen at its height. When it comes to spiritual evolution, no one has come in vain to Ramana nor left empty-handed. When it comes to spiritual evolution, no one has come in vain to Ramana nor left empty-handed. Always, everyone who have come for spiritual evolution have been uplifted. Be it the gigantic Muni Ganapati, a journalist searching for India's hidden secret, the housewife or the peasant, all would gain immeasurably in inwardness by his potent power. Each would receive according to his measure, and the measure itself would be multiplied manifold. Hence, it is that Muruganar exhorts one not to underutilize Ramana. Take full advantage of his power, Muruganar says. To ask Ramana for anything less than self-knowledge is like asking for old sour gruel in high heaven where nectar flows in plenty, says Muruganar. I'll repeat that. To ask Ramana for anything less than self-knowledge is like asking for old sour gruel in high heaven where nectar flows in plenty. The way Ramana operates in giving his bounteous gifts is magnetic. The questioner, the doubter, the seeker would be put at ease. Ramana's lustrous gaze, filled with love, would first be directed towards the person. Then he would be prepared to receive the message. Thereafter, he would clarify. Ramana's potent message would remain indelibly stamped on the hearer's mind, doing its work silently, imperceptibly. But it is bound to do its work. What is its work? It is to provide the elixir of immortality. I'll repeat that again. Ramana's lustrous gaze, filled with love, would first be directed towards the present person. Then he would be prepared to receive the message. Thereafter, he would clarify. Ramana's potent message would remain indelibly stamped on the hearer's mind, doing its work silently, imperceptibly. But it is bound to do its work. What is its work? It is to provide the elixir of immortality. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have self-enquiry session, which will be led by Sri Dileep Simha. He will also talk about little bit about the self-enquiry also.
ध्यायेत् शारदचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्रारविन्देक्षणम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणीश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाध्यासितं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रं यहमहमिति साक्षादात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जतव पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. Moramana, we will commence the Atma Vicharam by first listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. I'll be reading from the book Guru Vachaka Kovai from the chapter Meditation on the Truth. The verse blessed by Bhagavan for the evening is verse number 876. It is from the topic Samsara. Until the appearance of the false snake goes, the rope, the underlying truth, will not shine. Similarly, until the appearance of the world, the superimposition, ceases, the substratum, adhisthana, the true Swarupa, will not reveal itself. I repeat the verse. Until the appearance of the false snake goes, the rope, the underlying truth, will not shine. Similarly, until the appearance of the world, the superimposition, ceases, the substratum, adhisthana, the true Swarupa, will not reveal itself. Bhagavan says something. This is from Padamalai. We will take it as the meditation, Upadesha, and then do the Atma Vichara. Bhagavan says, the sight that sees the non-self is that which veils the nature of the Atma Swarupa. So the snake here is the sight that sees the non-self, which veils the nature of the Atma Swarupa. Know through discriminating inquiry that of these two, the world and the Supreme, only one abides within the heart and embrace that one. The two do not stay together in the heart, for one is incompatible with the other. Attempting to keep them together is a result of delusion. Since the one veils the other, one of them is an appearance imagined within the other. Very beautiful clarification given by Bhagavan that trying to keep both of them is the delusion, and that one always veils the other. This clarification Bhagavan gives, and therefore he asks us to abide in that one truth, which is the very self. Therefore, whenever the divisions rise in the form of a thought, he asks us to diligently inquire, whom is this? And when we put that question, it becomes very, very clear that thought has arisen for me. Further, Bhagavan asks us to inquire, who am I? What is that I to whom this thought has appeared? What is that I? What is the source of it? When we trace the source of that I, we find that it is an imaginary thing, like the snake on the rope. The I is nothing but the self itself. When we trace the source of the I, we actually reach the very self that we are, where there is absolutely no division. And therefore, Bhagavan brings the abidance in our natural state through the inquiry. So long as there are thoughts and the divisions are there, and therefore we should continuously inquire until, as Bhagavan says, that everything will cease. The only one truth alone can remain. Until that such time, we should continuously do Atma Vichara. The immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path. For the next 10 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Atma Bodham by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji.
Oh. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Dhanamulam Gurur Murti, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa. It is a very happy day. It's the birthday of Swami Chidananda, my Guru. And we are starting on Atma Bodha, the knowledge of the self. So I request Sapna to kindly chant the prayer verses, please.
Yes, sir. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Namo Ramana. So, when we decided that what's the next thing I would take on, Nandakumar suggested Atma Bodha, and then first thing I asked him, what do you have on Atma Bodha? And he had this beautiful notes by Swami A. Parthasarathi and in Nandakumar's notes of 2001. So, so I will be going through, mostly I'll be going through those notes, and we do hope that by the end of this, we'll all have knowledge of the self. So the preface, Atma Bodha is an original composition of Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya is an outstanding figure in the Hindu tradition. He has dedicated his life to the noble mission of resuscitating Hinduism. He salvaged it from the decadent state into which it had fallen in his time and breathed new life into it. He made it a living faith thereafter. Shankara, as he was popularly known, was born in 788 AD at Kalarani, a village on the west coast of India. He hailed from an orthodox Brahmin Nambudri family. Early in his life, he took to celibacy and
renunciation. He did not choose the institution of marriage and family life. Compelled by his spiritual urge, he went in search of a guru and found Sri Govinda Bhagavatpada in the Himalayas. This great master initiated him to the tenets of non-dualistic Advaita philosophy. Shankara had a precious intellect. He mastered the deep philosophy and the Sanskrit language. The Guru blessed him with the order of sannyasa. In Shankara, there was an incredible combination of knowledge, jnana, devotion, bhakti, and action, karma. In Shankara, there was an incredible combination of knowledge, bhakti, and that is jnana, bhakti, and karma. All these three qualities matured into a single individual within a short span of 22 years that earned him a distinction in the galaxy of immortal saints. Shankara elevated the Hindu scriptures to a place of pride. He made the most abstract analysis, the most meticulous examination of the phenomena of matter and spirit. He established non-dualism of the ultimate reality. In the process, he outwitted and silenced every disputatious scholar and chose to cross swords with him. He met opponents from other schools in open debates, refuted their views, and re-established the supremacy of non-dualistic Vedanta. This logic, his insight, and his analytical skills prevailed over them. The misconceptions entertained by the ritualistics, the iconolasts, and a host of other religious sects disappeared like mist before the rising sun. As a devotee, Bhakta, Shankara was imbibed with boundless compassion, faith, and devotion. He possessed the caliber of a Tukaram, a Kabir, or a Ramdas, the same genius who employed abstract and passionless thought in establishing the non-dualistic philosophy, composed verses like the Bhajagovindam and the Dakshinamurti Ashtaka. The union of knowledge and devotion in Shankara was by itself a rare achievement. And there was yet another facet of his personality, his tireless and dynamic action, karma. When he was hardly 16 years old, Shankara set upon his missionary work. He traveled the length and breadth of the country on foot and by bullock cart. In his travels, he met and won over his side scholars and pundits with diametrically opposite views. His mission heralded the rising of a new sun which illumined Vedanta as the supreme gospel of the universe. Numberless temples and religious institutions rendered service by Shankara. He established the 4 monastic institutions, matas, and left them in charge of philosopher saints, a tradition which lives up to this day. Shankara's literary works are classified under 3 main groups. The Bhashyas were commentaries on 3 basic institutes of the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita, which go by the name of the Prashanta Traya. The Stotras are the second, devotional songs on hymns of praise, and the 3 are the Prakaranas, expository and dialectic works in prose and poetry which enunciate and elucidate certain terms and expressions used in the scriptures. Atma Bodha is one of the prakaranas composed by Shankara. It helps the student to comprehend the subtle theme of the scriptures. It portrays a cross section of the plan of life expounded by the sages. It is a picture gallery of several word paintings, each depicting a philosophical idea. Shankara has used many similes and metaphors taken from nature and life. Such practical examples remind the layman of the higher reality in all walks of life. This awareness leads him to the realization of his supreme self. Let's read the introduction also. A human being is composed of spirit and matter. The spirit is your real self, the Godhead within. The matter in you is in the form of the physical body, mind, and intellect. Physical body is the equipment through which you perceive and act. Mind is the equipment in which your emotions play. Intellect is the instrument, equipment in which your discrimination functions. These three equipments are per se inert and insentient. It's very important. Says that these three equipments are per se inert and insentient. The Godhead within is the life principle which enlivens the material components. The point that we always do manana on, Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram. So he says the life principle, the Godhead, is within us. So it is the sentient principle which sends sentiency to the otherwise insentient matter layers. This life spark which gives life to the inert matter is the real self. It is called Atman in Sanskrit language. In the world today, humanity is lost in ignorance. You have lost your true identity. You are ignorant of your real self. The reality, Brahman, has been obscured. Groping in darkness, you are harassed by the trials and tribulations of life. You suffer stress and strain. Innocently, you try to find solutions by your problems by readjusting your environments. You try to make good your losses by physical, mental, and intellectual changes. You can never succeed that way. The remedy here is knowledge alone. In realizing your supreme self, no sooner does the light of knowledge dawn on you than you are instantly relieved of all the knocks and shocks of life. I read that sentence again. No sooner does the light of knowledge dawn on you than you are instantly relieved of all the knocks and shocks of life. It is ignorance that converts the kingdom of heaven into a veritable hell. You may employ all sorts of methods for removing the sufferings in the world. None of them will help you except the light of consciousness, the knowledge of the self within. So Atma Bodha literally means the knowledge of the self. It shows the way to self-realization. Its 68 verses can be divided into 8 topics. Each topic carries a brief summary. This categorization should help you to follow the sequence of thoughts and grasp the overall message in the text. So this is what Mr. Swami Parsarthi says, and we will continue to do manana on what are the categories that he has put them, categorization that he has done of the 68 verses. But basically what all the great ones say is that Brahman Satyam Jagat Mitya, Jivo Brahmaiva Napara, you are that. That's it. That is the truth. Only thing is we've forgotten, like all the people who read out or did manana on various aspects says that you are the truth. Only thing is we have this veiling, we have the covering by which we are not able to see our own reality. So Atma Bodha is again going to bring us focus into the self, who we really are. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Jnana Vicharapadalam Devikalotra Jnana Vicharapadalam by Dr. Kalarani Rengasamy.
ஓம் நமோ பகவதே ஸ்ரீ ரமணாய. அருணாச்சலமென அகமே நினைப்பவர் அகத்தை வேறறுப்பாய் அருணாச்சலா. With the abundance grace of Bhagavan, we are meditating on Devi Kalotra Jnana Vicharapadalam, very graciously given to us by Bhagavan in Tamil. And the last satsang we saw, to realize self, Chitsvarupa, one must have the love and curiosity to know about it. நிரந்தரம் அன்பால் தியானித்தே எந்த ஆசத்தியும் நீ எட்டு. But what happens? Man normally is very curious to acquire knowledge about the world. He gets attached to those objects also. Once he catch hold of those objects, what happens? Even if he wants to leave those attachments, he will not be able to do so. It's like this. Once, on the banks of river Ganga, 5 friends were standing and chatting. At that time, they saw a beautiful blanket floating on the river. One of them, who knows swimming, jumped into Ganga river and caught hold of that blanket. Then he has to come back and return to the bank to his friends, isn't it? But he didn't do that. He's still there holding it and not returning. His friends were shouting, "Hey, come back." He said, "Oh my friends, this is not a blanket at all. Then it's a bear." "Okay, you came to know that it's a bear. Leave it and come back. Why are you holding it?" "Where am I holding? The bear is holding me. It's not leaving me to go. I'm caught, friends." In this way only, man, when he catches hold of something, he cannot come out of it. And that is why Bhagavan says, always love only the Chit Swarupa. Meditate on the Atma alone and catch hold of that Atma which has no attachments. Only when we merge with that Swarupa, which does not have any attachment, we will also realize that we are also bondless. Because that is the truth. This truth is not coming from anywhere else. It's within us only. We have to just concentrate on the self and realize that we are also the same self. In the next stanza, Bhagavan beautifully says, "Desamum jadi mudalam ivatrai சேர்ந்தனவும் மாசு அகல் வர்ணம் ஆசிரம மன்னினவும் பேசம் இப்பாவனைகளை அகற்றி." We can see people very proud of being born in a particular country, in a particular caste, creed. I have seen some people saying, "Oh God, I should have born in America or Switzerland. My fate, I am in India." But Indians working in America feels and they lament, "Oh God, though I was fortunate enough to take birth in Anma Bhumi, India, my fate, I have to be in America. I have to work here and not in India." Some think very high of themselves because they come from a higher caste and they are very particular about the anushtanas that they have to follow being born in that higher caste family. Bhagavan says, a A mumukshu who is interested only in attaining jnana should not give importance to all these. And Bhagavan says, leave everything. I'll tell you an example. Some contemporaries of Kalidas were not having a very good impression on Kalidasa. They thought they are only following the rules and regulations given in Shastras, and Kalidasa does not even take care of these Agamavidi. But what happened? Once a great Pandit in a contemporary of Kalidas, he was having such a bad opinion about Kalidasa. Once he was taking bath in the river, and after taking bath he was doing puja. But at the time of doing puja, he got a doubt whether he should show the arati first or to offer prasadam to the god, which has to come in the front. He was thinking over it in his mind only. At a distance, Kalidasa was taking bath. From there he said, do it by anything is okay. You can do this first or that first. Pandit got shocked. Apart from knowing what I am thinking in my mind, he is giving solution to my confusion. How great he must be. He went to Kalidasa and apologized for thinking wrong about him and prostrated. But the question arises, is it wrong to do puja, mantra, japa, isn't it? Still, Bhagavan says, till one becomes stubborn to realize the truth, still he has only the inclination to attain jnana. He has to, and if he is having inclination towards worldly happenings, one has to cling on to puja, tapa, bhakti. But one should not stop there itself. One has to come out of that state. Till then, these mantra, japa, puja has to go on to purify the mind. In a beautiful poem in Tamil, it says, Munnam avanudiya namam kettal, Murthy avan irukkum vannam kettal, Pinnai avanudiya aarur kettal, பெயர்த்தும் அவனுக்கே பிச்சையானால் அன்னையையும் அத்தையையும் அன்றே நீத்தாள் அகன்றாள் அகழிடத்தார் ஆச்சாரத்தை தன்னை மறந்தாள் தன் நாமம் கெட்டாள் தலைப்பட்டாள் நங்கை தலைவன் தாளே. ஞானசம்பந்த's beautiful Devar. The Bhakta first came to know about the Sitswarupa, then its form, and then inquired about the abode of Sitswarupa. Pinnai avanudaya arur keta. That is, she surrendered completely with even not a bit of ahankara remaining. In that state, she renounced her parents and all relatives, renounced all the acharas she was beholding, then forgot her name and surrendered completely to the lotus feet of God. That is the state of jnana. Something which happened in Bhagwan's life also. Bhagwan heard from someone saying, Arunachala, the Nama, Munnam avan Namam kettal. Murthy avan irukkum vannam kettal. Who is that? Arunachaleshwara is the Murthy. Pinnai avanudaya aarur kettal. Where is he? He is in Thiruvannamalai. Came to know by Bhagavan. That's all. He surrendered completely to Arunachaleshwara. In Aksharamanamalai, Bhagavan beautifully says, பெயர் நினைத்திடவே பிடித்து எடுத்தனையும் பெருமை யார் அறிவார் அருணாச்சலா. He was dragged by Arunachaleshwara to Thiruvannamalai. He left his mother and all relatives at Madurai. And when he wrote the letter to the family, he did not mention the name, Tannamam Kittal. Only a line was drawn in place of the signature. Then when he hugged the Arunachaleshwara Linga, when he came to Thiruvannamalai, he said, Father, I have come to you as per your command. Now, Nirnishtam, Yanishtam. On reaching Thiruvannamalai, he renounced the acharam, even the sacred thread that he was wearing. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of Ramana Chatvarimshat by Sri Ujwal Jagadeesh.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Janmasthanamavapya guptamahamo vedama dutavan bhutanam charata pritak vidhadiyam atmaiva yo basate deham sarvamidam jagatcha vibhavadakramyaya prolasat Yekastam gurumurtimanamatre lampodhara brataram ramanaya loka gurave namaha ramanaya loka gurave namaha janmasthana ahammina gaupya tilidu vedagala toredava ನಾನಾವಿಧ ಚರಾಚರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆತ್ಮವಾಗಿ ಬೆಳಗುವವ ದೇಹವನು ಸಕಲ ಜಗವನು ವೈಭವದಿ ಆಕ್ರಮಿಸಿ ಹೊಳೆವವ ಆ ಗುರು ಮೂರ್ತಿಗೆ ನಮಿಸಿ ಗಣಪತಿಯ ಭ್ರಾತನವ ರಮಣನಿಗೆ ಲೋಕ ಗುರುವಿಗೆ ನಮನ ರಮಣನಿಗೆ ಲೋಕ ಗುರುವಿಗೆ ನಮನ. We have come to the 21st verse of Ramana Chatvarimshat. In the earlier verse, Ganapati Muni says, "Oh, the world, the people in the world, get ready. The brother of Ganapati is coming in the human guru form, as the human master. He is ready to come. So get ready." And how should we get ready? In one of the Christmas carols, we sing, "Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven nature sing." The carol says, the King of the earth is coming, so make room in your heart. And Ganapati Muni in this verse says, the Lord, the Supreme Guru, is coming to your heart, to shine in your heart as the Guru. So make room for him in your heart. And what is there in the heart? Our heart is clouded by the garbage of kuvada, that is the unwanted discussions and debates. And it is filled with illusion, durbranti. So make room by taking this away from the heart. And what needs to be placed in the heart? The Dharma Vrishabha, the bull of righteousness, has to be planted completely in the heart. And we have to become Sajjana. When we become noble, at that point, the Guru becomes ready to come and shine in our hearts. Author Osborne, telling us this true spiritual significance of Christmas, says the true Christmas is when the false ego is annihilated. It dies on the cross, and the true self, Jesus Christ, is born in the heart. That is true Christmas, says author Osborne in his verse on understanding the true significance of Christmas. So Ganapati Muni is saying the true guider, Jesus Christ, is being born as Ramana, who is none other than Subramanya, who is the brother of Ganapati. He is coming, so make room in your heart, says Ganapati Muni. And who is that great Ramana who is coming? He has the one who has understood the secret of the source of the I thought. He has understood the Janmasthanam, of the Aham. He has understood the true source of Aham, and by understanding that true, by getting merged in the source of the I thought, he has become one with everyone, and he has dropped every duality, every differences he has dropped, and he has become one with everyone. And how has he become one with everyone? He has become the true self, which is shining in the intellect of every being, moving and unmoving. And he has akramya, he has embraced and made, engulfed everything, including the body and the world. And he alone is the Guru, who has come in the form of the Guru Murti, in the form of a Guru that we can relate to. He has come, and he is none other than the brother of Ganapati. Ganapati's Brataraha. He is the brother of Ganapati. He has come, and we salute to that Guru. Ramanaya Loka Gurave Namaha, says Ganapati Muni. And Ramana, as the boy of 16, he faced the death, and he understood that he was not this body, and he was not the mind or the thing that makes us do all the actions, but he is the source of that I thought, which in turn makes us think and have many, many thoughts, and which translates into action, and which translates as this manifested world. So if one gets back to the source of that I thought, then one realizes one's true nature, and that true nature is shining in every being. This truth is understood. Ramana says, as soon as this I thought arises, find out for whom does this arise, and inquire it. It arises for me. So the question one needs to ask is then, who am I? And then merge at the source of the I thought. Ramana gives an example that when he and a set of devotees were there at Virupaksha cave, there was a small rock in a small crack in a rock, and from that rock a small insect somehow made its way and came out of the rock. And that the Ramana and other devotees were watching that little insect coming out of the rock, and as soon as that insect came out, it multiplied into many small insects, and the number of the insects enlarged in such a way that it covered the whole of the sky. Such was the power of that multiplicity of that one small insect. And Ramana turned towards his devotees and told, this is how the I thought arises from within. And if we leave place for that one I thought manifests as millions and billions and trillions of thoughts, and we are made to fall into the ocean of thoughts and action. So Ramana says, as soon as the I arises, turn the attention back to the source of the I and subside at the source of the I. That is true tapas, was the Upadesha that Ramana gave to Ganapati Muni. And this very same I thought makes us do all the actions. It also makes us do the japa. It also makes us talk and move and do all the activities. And Ramana says, find out from where these actions arise. The sound of the mantra arises from within and merge at its source. That is true tapas. This is the Upadesha that Ramana gave, and this Upadesha transformed the life of Ganapati Muni, and he had the experience of that self, which is the source of the I thought. This his Upadesha fructified because Ramana was ever abiding in that Janmasthana of the Aham. So to Ramana, who is ever abiding in the self, in the Janmasthana of the Aham, he has come to reveal this truth to everybody, and to say that it is so easy that each one of you can get back to your own true source, which is the self, and rejoice in that bliss. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the sharing of verses from Ramana Ashtottaram, Manana on Ramana Ashtottaram by Dr. Sarada.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self, shining as itself and yet manifest out of its great grace, abundant grace as Ramana. By that abundant grace, we are meditating on the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanama, the 108 names composed by Vishwanatha Swami, the litany of 108 names. And we are on the Nama, having completed the sequence of Namas dealing with Bhagavan's life, wherein he was born at Tiruchuri to the parents Sundaram Iyer and Alagamma, that Bhuminatha Kshetra, his childhood over there, his remembrance of Arunachala at all times, his intimate love for Sahayamba, and then moving on to Madurai, his education at Madurai, his learning about the place on earth, the heavenly abode of Arunachala, the more than heavenly abode of Arunachala being a place on earth, hearing about it, reading the Periya Puranam, having the normal sports apparently of a young schoolboy, and then facing the fear of death and conquering it. Mahashakti Nipatena Prabuddhaya Namaha, his enlightenment, and thereafter his journey to Arunachala, reaching there in this sacred month of September, on the 1st of September 1896. Pitrapadanveshine Namaha, Pitradeshatah Shona Shailam Praptaya Namaha. And after his reaching Tiruvannamalai, that beautiful, magnificent union with the Father, saying, Father, I have come, and renouncing everything, as Dr. Kalarani was also saying, renouncing everything, because there was nothing further for him to do. Krityamasti kim swasthitim yataha. What is there for such a one to do? Asks Bhagavan in Upadesa Saram, and in Ulladanarpada also, in the Saddashnam, Aham kritimyo lasati grasitva kim tasya karyam parishishtam asti. What is left for him to do? And in Ramana Gita, he says that such a one just acts out of compassion for the entire world. His actions are only for the benefit of the world. And as such a one, he remained at Tiruvannamalai for 54 years after that. And in the initial years, we see Tapomayaya Namaha. And Osborne has referred to this as seeming penance. Many have wondered about this penance of Bhagavan. Some people think that he performed some tapasya to study his self-knowledge, but Bhagavan has clearly explained time and again that there was no change in his state after that Mahashakti Nipata. After his enlightenment on the 17th of July 1896, there was no change in his state whatsoever. So what was this? He was lost in the bliss of the self. Bhagavan also says that it looked as if my eyelids were glued down. It was so difficult to open my eyelids. Such was the bliss of that state. And he was absorbed in it, just naturally absorbed. And he says, there was no need to speak. And people said, I was silent. It was not as if he intended to be silent. There was no intention at all. There were no motives for Bhagavan. And Jagadishwara Shastri says in Ramana Satsang, Sarvarambha Parityagi. Sarvarambha Parityagi. He would not initiate any action. So he did not keep any vow of silence, but he was silent during those years, and he was totally unaware of the surroundings. Initially, he was in the 1,000-pillar hall, and because some urchin boys were disturbed by his presence, he moved into the Patala Lingam shrine, that underground shrine, which in those days was totally uncared for. There was mud and dirt and overgrowth all around it, and inside that cave, the underground cave shrine, there were vermin and snakes and lizards and scorpions and all kinds of creepy crawlies inhabiting the dark dungeon-like shrine. Those days it was that way. And that is where this young boy, Venkatraman, this young sage, Ramana, went, and he was lost in the bliss of the self. There were times when the dancer devotee, Ratnamma, the Devadasi devotee, Ratnamma, tried to give him some food over there, but it must have been very difficult for her also to get there. And we do not know what he ate and how his body was sustained. He must have been there for a few months. In all probability, for 2 or 3 months he was there. And it reminds us of life, the life of the fetus in the womb, because it is dark in there, and it would certainly be very hot, because Tiruvannamalai is a hot place, very, very hot place. The Linga, Shiva, is Agni Linga. The hill itself is fire. And so it's very, very hot. I mean, there is no circulation of air. And as it was in those days, with all the overgrowth around it, there may have been less of scope for air or sunlight or anything to enter over there. Now it is fairly well, it's very well maintained, and it's fairly well lit also, and there would be some circulation of air. So it must have been hot, and so that is the kind of life. But he was a child of Arunachala. He had said, Father, I have come. And it is as if that he undertook this tapasya to save all of us, the torture, the hell, it is said, the great ones, the scriptures say it is hell, having to be in a womb is hell, they say. So to prevent that, he finished that tapasya for all the devotees. Satyamangalam Venkatramaiah says, Bhaktiyodu padindu nindidum bhakta kotiyar thangalai mukti meikare kaati moodari uttida dvajam vittavan. He has raised the flag to take his devotees across the sea of becoming. And we find Guhai Namah Shivaya singing that, don't push me into the womb. Annai vaitril uruppannamal ayya kanpar, ayya kanpar. Annai vaitril uruppannamal ayya kanpar. please look at me graciously, O Arunachala, so that I do not have to take another form in a mother's womb. So to save us from that, from the future birth, Bhagavan lived as if in a womb, but he lived in bliss, in absolute bliss. So we may call him the child of bliss. Of course, he was the child of Arunachaleshwara, the child of Apita Kuchambike. And Sheshadri Swami, the devotee, the great devotee saint, the devotee of the Devi, the saint devotee of Apita Kuchambike, he spotted Bhagavan there and he pointed out the penance, the presence of this sage to Venkatachala Mudali, who along with some others lifted Bhagavan out of the Patala Lingam, and they said they felt it was sacrilegious even to speak something in the presence of such a one who was unaware of being lifted out. That is not a big thing. Who was unaware of the fact that his thighs were actually being eaten by vermin and blood and pus were oozing out of those wounds. And even in later years, Bhagavan would jokingly say sometimes there would be some kind of excretion would come from all these wounds from time to time, and Bhagavan would say, oh, that is Karayan Prasadam. That is the gift given to me by those insects which ate my thighs in Patala Lingam. So that with so much of love, he accepted even the fact of their eating away his thighs. He was then placed in the Subramanya shrine, and there the Mauni Sadhu, who had given him the first bhiksha, the very first meal was offered to him by Arunachaleshwara. That was many days old rice with, of course, water on it in an old tin vessel with a little bit of dry pickle at the bottom, very sour. Even the water had gone sour, and Bhagavan had accepted it and in fact rejoiced so much in it. Such was his tapas, the tapas, where everything was the self. And Bhagavan says, everything was Arunachala. I could not think, oh Arunachala, of good or bad. I cannot think of good and bad because you are everything. The moment you governed me as Arunachala, Annamalai Adiyene Andandre Aviyudar Konda, you have taken over everything. How can I think about anything? You are everything. So that meal was enjoyed, and the same Mauni Swami gave him milk, which was taken from the Abhisheka to Apita Kuchambike. And for later, the priest noticed this and he gave him he took the pure milk from the Abhisheka instead of allowing him to gather the milk which was mixed with turmeric and various other things. Probably when the Abhisheka was done, the Mauni Swami would just gather the milk and take it. So the priest noticed it and gave him the pure milk of Apita Kuchambike. And Ganapati Muni, in one of his compositions, he says, oh, Apita Kuchambike, you are Apita Kuchambika, means she whose milk has not been savored by anybody, whose breast milk has not been savored by anybody, such a one. But you gave milk to my younger brother Ganapati Subramanya, to my younger brother, you gave milk to Bhagavan, Apita Kuchambike. Is it fair? You are ignoring your elder son Ganapati. You are not giving milk to me, your milk of Jnana, because this milk of Jnana was given by Goddess Parvati to Jnana Sambandar also, the child saint. When he was crying, not knowing where his father has gone, Shiva asked Parvati to give him milk. So she fed him with her breast milk. You have given it to Sambandar, who is known to be the incarnation of Subramanya himself. And again you gave it to my brother Ramana. Should you not give me also the milk of knowledge? asks Ganapati Muni. So, drinking the mother's milk, this child of bliss was just soaked in tapas. What is tapas? Says Bhagavan. Aham apetakam nija vibhanakam mahadidam tapo ramanavagiyam. The destruction of the ego and the shining forth of the self. Nija vibhanakam. That is the greatest tapas. So Bhagavan was shining as the very self. It is said that a knower of Brahman, the knower of the self, is not a knower of the self. He is the very self. He becomes the very self. So it was the shining of the self as Ramana that is called tapomaya. Tapas means heat. Tapas means light. Tapas means the shining. The shining of the self as Ramana is described by Vishwanatha Swami in this nama as tapomayaya namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the chanting of Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V. Radha along with Vallabh Srinivasan.
अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचला अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचला நைந்தழி கனியா நலநிலை பதத்தில் நாடி உட்கொள் நலம் அருணாச்சலா நொந்திடாதுந்தனை தந்தனை கொண்டிலை அந்தகனி என கருணாச்சலா நோக்கிய கருதி மெய்தாக்கிய பக்குவமாக்கினி ஆண்டருள் அருணாச்சலா பற்றிமவிடத்தலை உற்றிரு முனமருள் பற்றிடருள் புரியருணாச்சலா பார்த்தருள் மாலர பார்த்தில்லையே நினருள் பாருனக்கா சொல்வார் அருணாச்சலா பித்த விட்டுன்னை நேர்பித்த நாக்கினை அருள் பித்தம் தெளி மருந்தருணாச்சலா வீதியில் உன்னை சார் வீதியில் என்னை சேர் வீதி உந்தனக்கே அருணாச்சலா உள்ளறிவே துரை நல்லறிவே துரை புல்லிடவே அருள் அருணாச்சலா பூமண மாமண பூரண மணம் கொள்ள பூரண மணம் அருள் அருணாச்சலா பெயர் நினைத்திடவே பிடித்திழுத்தனை உன் பெருமையார் அறிவார் அருணாச்சலா பேத்தனம் விடவிடா பேயா பிடித்தனை பேயனாக்கினை அருணாச்சலா பைங்கொடியானான் பற்றின்றி வாடாமல் பற்று கொடாய்கா அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி நமோ ரமண.
Namo Ramana. We conclude today's satsang with the Ashtottara puja. The Ashtottara puja will be done by Sri Dileep Simha at his altar. The chanting of Ashtottara will be done by Sri Vaibhavji, Prarthana and Uma, Shripati and Ashwini Balaji.
नमो रमण। भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्विमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्ड संविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्हितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातीताय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईव्याय नमः।
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्री शोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋच्चान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात् बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ नविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शनसुखमङ्गलमुख सकलजीवहितसम्मुख ब्रह्मसङ्घीये सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानन्दपुष्ट परममहर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
जय